2007 is brought to you by Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Kia Motors, and
kids and family TV award shows. The only legitimate award shows I thought I would attend if I were to ever get close to working on anything related to animation before I discovered what the Annies were. Too bad I'll never get to see Shrek's face up close mere milliseconds before climax. I and many others have seen him do it in faces of multiple people and shit. Oh my, just gonna get this guy in a cell. That's because the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards have been and continue to be the most popular branded award show ever. Yeah, that's right, excluding kids and family television.
Oh, my leg!
Which is why this year's is set to be aired on CBS alongside the Nickelodeon broadcast. A rather risky thing to do, but the KCAs can because of two main iconographic things associated with the show. The aforementioned green goo and the actual award given to the winners, the blank.
Oh, my leg!
Seeing the kids at the Kids' Choice Awards having fun on TV made generations of people envious of the rich. And so, following its success, Nickelodeon's two biggest competitors statistically would proceed to unzip their pants as they say, "I can piss longer, fucker," and so the pissing began. Disney, being the big sack stinkers they are, introduced the Radio Disney Music Awards, and this show initially didn't even air on Disney Channel until 2014, after only being broadcast on radio since 2001. Considering the overlap of tweens that consisted in the channel's demographic, they more than likely liked the music being presented here, so there clearly was an idea to be made to rival Nick with this, which is all fine, but I really didn't give a fuck about this when I was a kid, as the atmosphere was just so dark. There were no bright, vibrant colors. This just looked boring. This came on after fucking Frozen premiered. I just wanted my eyes to grace something appealing as I tuned in, but no. Either that or I just didn't care about pop music at all until later in life. The only remotely cool thing that they did was have the DuckTales reboot characters in for 1 year. That's it. This definitely felt more teenish from the presentation to the model of the award itself. Like, why the hell is the Clips album gold and wearing headphones? Whatever, it's Disney. They have enough wiggle room to pull something like this off by having programming that complements it. Realistically, how does Cartoon Network even do award shows? Like, how would they pull it off? You know, the channel centered around airing animated media and nothing else. What, would they just have the cartoon characters host the show and give out awards themselves? that just sounds fucking stupid.
Ladies and gentlemen, our host for the evening, Mr. Johnny Bravo.
Good evening.
This is Multiverses before Multiverses. Despite the satirical name, this was a one-time special that aired on Cartoon Network a night before the 2002 Academy Awards. It's interesting as this wasn't the network's first time doing an Academy Awards parody preceding the actual show, as in March 1995, it was previously Golden Betty Awards Week. More of a special block than a scheduled special with a time slot, there was supposed to be an award ceremony on the last day in said promos.
Finally, Thursday night, all of Toondom will turn out in their finest for the Golden Betty Awards, the Cartoon Network's very own award show, with nods to the skinniest, squiggliest, lipstickiest tunes.
And is even on the fan wiki schedule as it aired twice and never again. And of course, there's no archived footage of this ever existing or airing at all. The Fancy Anvil Awards were done on a larger scale. Parodied much like the Academy Awards, it's formatted like an actual award show, though the winners are revealed when they're episode reruns. Two random Cartoon Network characters go on to present nominees. You got the funny quips from the host at the expense of the characters in the audience, with said host being the black Johnny Bravo.
No, but I got these guns.
Jokes aside, Johnny Bravo really seemed to be the network's unofficial mascot until his show ended. Either that or the marketing team really liked him. It makes a lot of sense because he's literally the only character carrying his own show. He even had his own short-lived block on the network, JBVO.
cartoon show.
Or you tell me your favorite cartoon and I'll slap it on the screen for you.
All tunes are completely in character, making for some funny interactions with some of the presenters, and they get pretty crazy with the characters they choose to interact with each other too. Like having Fred Flintstone and Betty be on stage with Kid Welma and Kid Barney from the Flintstones Kids. Eustace from Courage proving to be more manlier than Top Cat, and he does that by affirming just how straight he is by... The presentation of how the characters are actually animated here, though, is an afterthought. It's mostly just recycled animation from the shows they're already on, with the only new animation being done for a handful of characters. It's fun to see original openers to award shows, and this one doesn't disappoint, although it's just a red carpet with the characters walking on it, a la mixed media, with this venue they're in being this 3D structure. This predates the CN City era, as this was during the Cartoon Fridays era, where the characters would occasionally interact in the Cartoon Network building during interstitials. Cartoon Network had already toyed with the characters interacting over mixed media before the City era, though that's something a lot of people, including myself, seem to forget. Even though this special was made with the characters in mind, they still had a decent handful of celebrity guests, and none of them really had me all that interested until they got to Robin Williams. The other guest presenters would just read a script with a laugh track playing when they read the pun and didn't really add anything other than just being there. Some would present awards though, with the awards themselves being somewhat earnest categories for this being a parody show. You got Best Original Song, Best Team, Best Cartoon, whilst you get more jokey ones like Best Inanimate Object and Best Ass. Yeah, really funny, guys. While it doesn't take itself too seriously, it's still very well thought out. Scooby-Doo got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and again, just making Johnny Bravo the host was a great decision. The enjoyability of where this special shines is seeing the characters interact with this award show environment. The character interactions too, for sure, but there's some interesting creative decisions, so some of the gags don't feel too samey. Other than this one gag where they won't stop fucking referencing Goober and the Ghost Chasers, to the 3 overly obsessive Hanna-Barbera fans who lit up when I said the name of that show, this is why it's being joked about. I can understand why this was a one-time thing though, as this would kind of be hell to pull off on an annual basis and would probably interfere with the production of actual shows as the voice actors need to record new lines. I highly recommend this if you yearn for more classic Cartoon Network crossovers. With how weird the studio has been doing as of late, who knows when we're gonna see one of those ever again.
The use of words expressing something.
Well, that was quick. If you tuned on a Cartoon Network during February 2011 leading up to the 25th, you were advertised this sick new award show with all these epic celebrities. They had to make a separate ad with images of the celebrities, and I still don't know who these people are. Other than Tony Hawk, of course. Because he was the first ever host of the official Cartoon Network Hall of Game Awards. The network really went all out for the advertising campaign when it came to this, and considering the amount of celebrities, planning, and general cool shit that happened at this show, I can see why, as it was a huge risk for Cartoon Network. Not just because of budgetary reasons, but because this was the network that airs only animation and nothing else. I remember they had a 5-day movie marathon block leading up to the award show, which introduced the network premiere of Space Jam. I'm not joking at all when I say that they really had faith in this. Unlike their previous award show ventures, this was supposed to be the one to compete with the Kids' Choice Awards, as the star power, custom branded trophy, high theatrics, and attention-grabbing promos to make kids tune into this was all at play. You know they wanted this to work when they're advertising it on other networks, and it did. Well, it worked for me anyway. The movie trailer promos of shit blowing up made Kid Me Too excited for what this event was, but little did my little mind know that I was the only person who seemed to care about this. Like, at all. Ever. To my surprise, there's no footage of even 1 minute of the first show to be found online at all. Well, footage of the original Cartoon Network broadcast at least. What I did find, however, was 5 short videos, courtesy of that one brand online that thinks they own everything they take a photo of. And even then, these aren't even a minute long. Sad, I know. Not even Cartoon Network officially cared enough about this to archive anything to the public on its first ever large-scale award show. All the other years up to 2014 are online though, so I'm just gonna cover those instead. When it comes to kids and family award shows, the appeal isn't who wins what award awards and the acceptance speeches, oh no, because if it did, then we would probably all be fucked right now. It's all about what's happening in between all of that shit to keep the ratings up. Comedy skits, guest celebrities, cool stunts, and my personal favorite, IP synergy. This show has it all, hosted by none other than Shaquille O'Neal from Shaq's Garage.
I am Shaq. Welcome to my Shaq Pack.
It's the Hall of Game Awards.
It's so big you can see it from space if you're in space.
Wait, what?
A sports award show. Aired on a channel where they had no sort of sports-related adjacent shows on it at all. Yeah, this idea was doomed from the start. The second ceremony opens with Shaq getting a message from Charles Barkley, who was also a guest at the Anvil Awards. Someone stole all the Game Awards, and Shaq has to get them back. He finds the lair of Dr. Root, who just turns out to be Rico Rodriguez disguised as Victor Cruz. Does this count as blackface? Whatever, it's Shaq's place. Every year is a different opening with slightly different hosts. I say slightly because the following show's opener does nothing but just establish that Nick, you know, the guy who won't put his cannon down, would be hosting alongside Shaq. Out of the three openers, this is without a doubt the weakest one, with the strongest probably being the last in terms of being more enjoyable. Hosting the show only twice, Shaq is seen all over the show, constantly changing costumes or doing something random. He seemed pretty committed to making sure that this was enjoyable. Not to say that Nick was any weaker the year after, although the show would have been the same without him. They host in a duo, Nick being the silly guy while Shaq is the straight man, and they have a pretty good dynamic. You can already tell they're kinda close, and it shines here. The direction felt like they were throwing different things at the wall each year and seeing what sticks. Rico Rodriguez's human slingshot dunk, entertainment ranging from Fall Out Boy to The Wanted. Who? Wanted. I did like that they approved upon certain ideas to make the show more enjoyable for future years, such as making some moments move in more of a rhythm than just stuff happening in spurts. They had this competition where mascots of various different sports teams would pop up doing random things to try and wow the audience into voting for them. The second year would just have the mascot thing as a category like any other award, although the idea of them being the entertainment themselves was later brought back for the final show. This time in an obstacle course hosted by Finn's voice, Jeremy Shada. When it came to the characters themselves, the first Hall of Game Award show featured Mordecai and Rigby fully voiced and partially animated. They would interact with Shaq.
Thanks, Shaq. We're high.
Present presenters and do the occasional gag. It was a fun time whenever they did show up based on performances alone. It sounded like J.G. Quintel and William Salyers are having a fun time doing the voices live at the show. At first, I thought they were animated using the Adobe Character Animator live stream feature that they use for those horrible looking Simpsons live stream things that they did in 2016.
Do you like more, Lenny or Carl, and why?
Leslie, I like Lenny because he's the black guy, and wait a minute.
But apparently that feature predates this event. If I had to guess, this was done in a series of rigs that just changed depending on what they were saying or doing. Still a very rushed flash job though. Could this be a part of the Lost Tape show? Years 2 and 3 of the show feature appearances from the Annoying Orange, star of the High Fructose Adventures of the... Oh, and Nerville for the, Psychosis.
Trapped in the white man body.
The Cartoon Network star power would reach its fullest potential at the fourth and final award show though, as the characters would be the ones running it behind the scenes, which is basically just the executive saying, "You dumbasses," whilst walking to the bank. It's just their voice actors saying the names of those nominated.
Ray Ellen.
Not even the description after, that's another kid.
With the heat season on the line, Alan let a Rainbow 3 fly from the corner.
Who the fuck is this nigga, bro?
On top of that, the only two shows that were showed the most love were Adventure Time and Regular Show. Looks like things never change, do they? They have an award for their own cartoons that don't even get presented on stage. But I have to say, as misleading as they were, the promos for this were awesome, and probably the only reason why most people cared to tune into this one at all. Oh well, at least they got their coolest fucking voice actors ever, John DiMaggio and Tom Kenny in the rafters. This has to be without a doubt the most brand-synergic show yet. You see that?
No.
1, 2... 12 logos in one frame, wow! What's so funny about their additions is the fact that they were on screen more than the actual hosts of that year's show, being NFL stars Colin Kaepernick and Cam Newton. And for being people who usually aren't in front of the camera in this manner, I think Cam definitely has more of a natural stage presence, whereas Colin doesn't really, but he makes up for it with the banter that he shares with his co-host. Banter of which I actually kind of liked seeing as the show went on. They got pretty creative with the opening for that year's your show opener as well. It felt like a Key and Peele skit, two grown men childishly one-upping each other dressed like kids, which set up this fake rivalry of them competing to see who is the best host ever. Compared to hosts of previous years, they aren't around as much. It honestly feels like Tom and John are backup hosts because they bring in pretty much all the energy and present most of the presenters. Maybe the executives didn't want to fully entrust athletes with a job. Actors do better. With the 2014 show wrapped up, nobody was expecting for this to come back, and they expected right. Much like that Indian kid at John's high school who shared Dunkaroos with him.
They got him.
If Cartoon Network ever toys with the idea of doing a competitor to the KCAs again, may I suggest doing it more like the first award show they did? While this probably isn't easy to make outside of what the studio normally is used to doing, it was way more enjoyable, and I found myself appreciating it more knowing that this was tailored for cartoon fans in mind. I don't know why they just didn't let a cartoon character host the Hall of Game Awards, or all of them host the Hall of Game Awards, or at least toy with that aspect instead of just doing the backstage thing, but whatever. The Hall of Game Awards started as something that shouldn't have happened in the first place, but is fun to recollect on as a piece of television history. Alongside with CN Real, the larger Cartoon Network fandom just seems to treat this as a bump in the road of the network's history. If a majority of your already established fandom isn't interested in your non-animated show on a channel made for animated shows, nobody is going to want to record this on their DVR for later, hence why the entirety of this show is partially lost. Remember earlier when I mentioned that the network never had a sports award show? Well, upon looking at old Cartoon Network recordings mid-editing, it turns out that they did in preparation for the Hall of Game Awards. Run It Back, a NBA highlight show with 30 episodes. It's just that nobody cared. Fun fact about this was also produced by William Street. Weird, I know. And you'd think the fact that this is partially lost is bad enough already, but no, it just gets worse. In 2014, Nickelodeon decided to kick the cat. Actually, fuck kick. They burned that motherfucker to a crisp by holding their own sports award show, which had more years than the Hall of Game Awards, and stole their venue. Yeah, I don't ever think they're gonna attempt this again. Getting bitched like that is permanent.
Your L's and R's sound like W's.
Wee wee. I guess that's why I'm a legend.